That's
Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast comes from two lifelong fans of IndyCar and motorsports. We are not insiders. Before we get started, let me introduce you to my co-host, Tim Reiner. Hey, Timmy.
Hey, Dan. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We've had a pretty busy day today.
It's been a long day.
It has already. The first thing I'm going to say is we had a terrific bike ride this morning, 66 spirited miles.
How many kilometers?
And well, it's a metric century. It was a 100 metric.
106.
Right? Yeah. So we're a little
is
bit
what
over
we ended up doing based on the 66 miles.
Yeah. 106K. So
Whew.
Your bike is back up on the wall in its regular place. My bike is still in the back of my Jeep.
Yeah, mine's a total mess back there in the picture. I know it doesn't look like it, but if I turn and look at it, it is full of dirt and mud because it was wet and nasty this morning. Yeah. But then the sky's cleared.
Nice. And I got happy when the sun came out.
I do get very happy when the sun comes out. And it came out at the very end, but it was kind of like Barber Motorsports today. It rained in the morning, right. In the evening, it was wet, and then it dried up. And man, it was a nice, bright, sunshiny day there.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was. Jim Dan.
So I'm still a little tired from 66 miles, but we crushed it. It was good. It was a fast-paced ride, and we had some good people on the team. We'll call it a team that did some polling, and we all took our turn, and we got through it pretty quickly. But that made for crunch time to watch the race. I had to watch it on DVR, which was okay, even though I had to fast forward the commercials, even though it's side by side. But I tried to watch at the same time. And yeah, I've got some travel coming up, so we're trying to get this done all in one day and get it wrapped up.
Yeah. So good job by you, because I know you've got certainly a much more compressed time frame than I do, but
but I made your time frame very compressed because of my schedule. So thank you for that. Thanks for doing this.
Of course. Hey, we want to talk about Barber, but before we get on to the race itself, I want to talk a little bit about qualifying.
Yeah.
Because qualifying was insane, right?
It was.
Will Power, who really is the king of qualifying in IndyCar, without a doubt. Okay. More poles than anybody, I think, out there. He doesn't make it out of Q1, qualifies 19th. Scott Dixon, right? Tried and true Scott Dixon qualifies 13th. Herta 10th on a weird strategy that bit him. I don't understand what they were doing sitting in the pits waiting to go out. And then, of course, Felix Rosenqvist brings out the red flag, and that was it for Herta on that qualifying strategy.
Was it Felix Rosenqvist?
It was. He brought out the red for.
It was Marcus Ericsson.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Marcus.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Felix qualified in the top 6. He was in the fast 6, so it could have been him.
Maybe. Rossi had a big crash coming out of turn 17, I believe it is. I had a big crash there, and that team had to scramble, not just his team, but other members of Andretti Autosport had to scramble to get that car put back together. Looks like they did a full rear,
it's good teamwork, man. That's almost like us on the bikes today. That teamwork was so good. We kept that engine running. They had to put a new engine, whole new rear end on it, basically. So the transmission and everything, and they came through and made it happen. So, and then he went out and performed for qualifying, which is excellent to see.
Yep, he did. The only thing that was consistent with qualifying at Barber was that Honda or Chevy was still strong. Chevy was still strong. I picked Grosjean to start on the pole, but he was strong, but he qualified 8th. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Ericsson's spin spoiled it or not. Ericsson actually written into my notes.
You have Ericsson in your notes. You just typed.
I have Felix first, and I have Ericsson at the back. So sorry.
Okay, I know you were still thinking about that as you were going through your notes. Going, was it really him, or was it which driver was it? And then you started to make me think about it. And was I really right? And I was, because we talked about the Husky chocolate chip Ganassi racing car.
I think that's the only way that should ever be said.
I know.
You picked Pato to be on pole.
I did. Who did he qualify second? Sure did.
Sure did. So good
So I
job
was
by you.
one position off. I was right there, ready to make it happen. However,
Mm-hmm.
I pivoted for the race winner, which kind of screwed me a little bit.
You did. You did.
Yeah, there was a pivot.
We're not going to get there yet. We got a couple others. So
I know,
Ray
but
Hall Letterman and qualifying, always a story to watch. I don't think this was as much of a mess as it is in other cases. Graham qualifying 9th, Christian 14th, Jack 15th. Moral victory here, Tim, for Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure that team's ever going to be happy.
Fair enough. Last thing about qualifying before we move on to the race results is Juncos and Calamilot. They came alive during this weekend. I'm so happy for them. I mean, they are definitely the smallest team on the grid. It sounded like Ricardo Juncos was saying that, you know, they barely have enough people in the team to really service the car. So
he's like, we don't have enough people to run an operation, but we're making it happen. So people must be wearing multiple hats for sure.
Without a doubt.
I loved his interview, by the way, and I'll just want to put it out there. It was so good.
I have it in my notes
for an underdog that does well, right?
I am rooting for this team rest of the season, period. Right? I am rooting for this season, this team rest of season.
I hope you got some good notes on him this time, because normally we just kind of brush over him. But given the airtime that they got this weekend, I know they got the partnership with the hands thing. I don't know all the details around it, but so they talked to that team quite a bit this weekend, which was good to see. If you watch anything on Peacock, it was all on the Peacock for the practice 1, 2, and then qualifying and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah,
and I really like that pit side reporter on Peacock.
Yeah, the new guy.
Yeah, he was good.
What's his name?
I don't know. I'd have to
see. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, but he's good, and I've made a mental note to remember his name, but I don't recall. I think it's I pedaled it right out of my brain.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a great show. We've got a lot of notes. We got a lot of our usual passion points here in the show, but some compressed timeline in terms of preparation from what we normally do, but we definitely do have a good time. Good.
Are we going to publish early, or are we going to publish normal?
Now we're going to publish normal.
Normal. All right. So you guys are going to hear this when you normally see it. All right.
Yeah. Projected winner, I had Scott Dixon finally triumphing in Barber. That wasn't to be. Tim, who did you have?
I had the guy that caused the yellow or the red flag in qualifying. It would be Marcus Ericsson.
That's right.
And if he didn't do that, I think he had a very stout car to do something in qualifying, and or in the race as well as qualifying. And he just didn't do it.
Yeah. Just a misstep there from Marcus, unfortunately. So. Yeah. Good guy though. Good driver. I root for him.
So I think this is kind of like our first wash, right? You always win, and then this is just a like even Steven kind of thing going on, right?
Yeah. We'll call it that.
I'm still beating you in fantasy, so
yes, you are. Did you look at results like right now?
Yeah, I got passed by 2 gentlemen on her.
Who's got it? Superfan Mark.
Who was it? Yucca?
Oh yeah, Yucca's in there.
Yeah. Is that the first place winner? I don't know. Have them tell us.
Superfan Mark is seemingly very good at picking fantasy.
I want to know when they do their picks, though. Is it after qualifying or is it before qualifying? Like, how does that sort of work? Because I'm always doing it before I see anything, except I did see practice 1, and I went to do my picks before I looked at the results for practice 2, because I didn't have time to watch practice 2. I was at a event that I had to go to this weekend. So I missed practice
about it.
I know. And I was caught at a different, I was at a show. I had to go to a show this weekend. So, yeah.
All right. Arrow McLaren. I redo the notes.
I love the win. That's so great.
So do I. I think this is good. He was in the hunt all day, but really most of this race to me looked like it was Renus's in hand. We'll talk a little bit about that. But what I will say about this is perhaps the new Chevy drivability has helped Arrow McLaren get on top of the tire degradation issues that they had last year. Pato went long in that first stint on reds. Had this been 2021 season, Aaron McLaren would have never been able to go that long on those roads.
Let's just say I'm gutted for Renus VK, right?
So am
He
I.
had that
Yeah.
in hand for
Devastating.
so long, led 57 laps, and I was like, good for the team, good for Renus, good for Ed Carpenter Racing and the sponsorship and the whole organization to come through. But man, that last pit stop, that's what turned it all upside down for Renus. And I know I'm talking about Renus when we're talking, we're on an award.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that because
good job by Arrow McLaren and that
Yeah.
whole team and making it happen, and Pato making that move coming out of the pits and passing when he had, I believe, the only opportunity he had to pass Renus all day.
Yeah. Yep.
Legitimate
Oh, yeah.
shot
Legitimate.
to make it happen. Yeah.
Legit. Rosenquist, not so lucky, finishing 16th. He was the first of the 2-stop guys to make his stop. It just didn't work out for him, unfortunately. Maybe if he had gone 1 or maybe 2 more laps on that, because the 2-stop strategy was how we were looking here on this, because the 3-stop guys got.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was a combination of the tires going off plus fuel consumption. I'm assuming it was fuel consumption, but maybe it could have been the tires going off is why he went in as early as he did. And I heard the announcers even say he would have liked to have stayed out longer than what he did, but he just had to come in and get the service done. But he finished 16th. You don't like to see that because he qualified really well. And I was looking for a better result out of that. He started 6th, so he dropped 10 spots, and you could see people passing him after that last pit stop and going by him. And hopefully he can turn that around. But all around for Arrow McLaren, and Chevy Power, I think it comes back to Chevy was top 4, top 3 spots for a lot of the day until your next guy on the list came from
Alex Palou.
I know.
I think we have finally reached an episode here with Alex Palou where you can't say it any other way. Some of us had been waiting for him to come back down to earth or kind of drop into some more mediocre results or something. I don't think it's happening. I think he's good. I think he is very good. I think he is here to stay. It might have been practice and they talked a little bit about it on the race today. He was going into a spin and his tires, I know that, right? We do this on YouTube as well, and so I'm moving my hands again, but he had a spin where his hands just came out to drive into the spin to correct it in just the most gentle kind of manner at 120, 130 miles an hour or whatever it is to get the correction in place. That is just mental toughness and acuity. He has it. I'm going to call him a kid because I'm old enough to be his dad, which kills me these days. But
you're not good looking enough to be his kid.
Nowhere near.
Or his dad.
Right?
Sorry.
Nowhere near. Because good genes in that family.
Yeah, because his dad's
good genes. Yep.
Good looking dude for sure.
he's good. Tim, I don't think that anything's gonna fall off here. I don't think this is gonna be a comeback to earth. I think this is his.
I think you're right. And your comment about him correcting a spin and keeping it on the track. The thing that I thought of was Indianapolis last year, where he had pretty big impact with the wall, but he almost caught that last year at Indianapolis. And if he didn't catch it as much as he did, it would have been a really, really bad hit. And he made it into a big hit and not a bigger hit that would be bad. So he's got it. And the thing that they did today was they stayed out 2 laps longer than the other leaders. The other leaders being obviously Pato O'Ward and Renus. And then he came back after that pit stop and was in the mix. And his fastest lap was the lap before he went in for that last pit stop at a 1:21.489. Yes, I'm looking at the box office score, box scores, whatever you want to call them. I'll call them the office around here. But that was his fastest lap going around to be competitive, to get really in the hunt for the win. And he got second place out of that and was close behind Pato O'Ward for the rest of the race, only 1.5 seconds back. So Man, he's got it.
Yeah,
He's
got it.
I don't
It's good.
I don't think I can bet against the guy again. Man, he's good.
Yep. Dixon, fifth place, a very Dixon-like race,
Yeah.
given his starting position of 13th. Kept it clean, saved fuel and tires, and made the best of the afternoon. That is one thing, though, both of those guys, right? Dixon and Palou, both saved tires, save fuel, always keep the car underneath them, both of them, right? Very smart, strategic drivers. These guys, oh, it's a joy to watch. It really is. And Chip Ganassi, go buy a lottery ticket, because he has fallen into, right, picking up Alex Palou to drive that car at a time where you don't know how many more seasons somebody like a Scott Dixon has left in him. And he has somebody in hand that's going to pick up that mantle.
They have to have a formula, because you can't fall on dumb luck that often. You did it with Juan Pablo. You did it with Alex Zanardi. Like you've made it happen with Ganassi. You did it with Dixon. Now Palou. It's just, there's a formula. There's somebody in the back room. They've got their little board and they're doing their numbers and they're going, this is your next guy. And everybody's like, he comes to the series and they're like, who is this guy? And all of a sudden he's second year, wins the championship. In the championship lead, I believe after today. I haven't checked, but that's what I heard.
Talk about that.
So yeah, he's the guy for sure. So
Marcus Ericsson finished 12th, started 12th, finished 12th. Had an interesting weekend, just kind of here and there, this and that. Johnson, 24th. He got bumped a couple of times with faster drivers coming through, once by Newgarden and once by Elio Castroneves, who actually had to give the position back, which I thought was interesting.
I think he had to give several positions back to give Johnson the position back, because he kind of bumped him off. Really? I think a few cars went by. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. That's part of that, having to lift to give positions back. You're going to lose.
Yeah, and there's
anybody coming out behind.
So
Rinus VK, third place. Heartbreak for Rinus, like you said, who was in total control of this race until the last stop. Now, I did see a little bit of the Peacock post race that kind of was, but wasn't, that he was slowed into the pit by Jimmy Johnson on that last stop. I didn't see that. I have no reason not to take his word for it, because he is not a complainer. We're going to get to complaining later. But he is not a complainer. So I did hear him say that.
Did you watch that on Peacock, or was that on the NBC?
It was on Peacock. So the Peacock.
So you did find it.
The post race never really kicked off. It felt like once they took the race off the air, they went back on air with some of that post race show that should have been there. So if you zipped across to the end there was some post race interviews. I got to see Graham talk his talk, and then I got Rinus and some of that.
I watched a little bit of that on Twitter just because of your texting to me.
I know, I'm sorry. And
we'll get there.
Fight with people
maybe
on Twitter.
I don't know.
So
maybe we'll get there. I've not read the notes, so we're just.
I don't want to end our show by picking a fight with people on Twitter, but it needed to be said what I said.
So we could do it now and then just get back to the lineup. That way it's not at the end of the show.
No, we're gonna go. I do want to say this. Rinus is good, and I think he is one of the new and up and coming young guns. Right? He had a win last year. He had a win in hand this year. But I'm gonna give you something, because I know you love these. What about Roger Penske, Mr. Penske, RP, the captain, rolls out a fourth car for 1 year next year to have him in place to slot into the number 12 when Will Power's contract is up?
I'll say he's going to be a hot commodity. So there's going to be a lot of teams looking at him. That doesn't bother me, right? That's totally fine. I hope
for this, I get a second one for you.
I hope Chevy's latching on to him as their driver, and that would make the next move to Penske. But I'd like to, I like where he's at as well, because I'd love to see other teams become in the top 3 that we always talk about. So I'm kind of mixed on it. But what was your other point?
Oh, to stay at Carpenter Racing?
Yeah, and develop that program and keep it going and really get that program to, one of the top 3, 4, or 5 teams, which
Right. I think
would be great.
any of these guys race because they love to race, but I also think it comes down to a point of being able to maximize your earnings when you have an opportunity to do it.
Mhm.
So by going to a top tier team, be it a Penske, be it a Ganassi,
No,
or
it's
my second choice, and I've been saying this, I hate to hear, right? Felix, the season hadn't even started, and we've been putting people in.
oh, look
Felix
at that. You're
Rosenquist's
sending them to
seat.
Arrow.
I'm sending him to Arrow McLaren as well as Rossi. So your lineup would be Award, Rossi, Renus VK. What do you like better?
I like your second option better.
Going to Arrow McLaren.
Yes,
Okay.
because I want to see them take the fight to the other teams, which they've started to. They've started last year. They're continuing the momentum. Obviously, today was a big thing where they won. So that's more attractive to me. And I'd like Penske, to find someone else, bring
I'm a
someone
Will
else
Power
in.
fan, so I'm not trying to warm up Will's seat, but I
Yeah.
think Will's career at some point, right? Just like Dixon, at some point,
And I'd
they're
like
gonna
to see,
step out of the car.
instead of Penske, I'm going to say poach somebody off the IndyCar series. I'd like to see him maybe bring someone up from Indy Lights, or maybe pull someone from Europe, do something different that they haven't done in a long, long time. So that's what
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do. And I know they brought Scott McLaughlin over, but he was already in the Penske fold. So it wasn't a big risk, in my opinion,
Yes, true.
from a driver, and knowing that if they can interact with the team and what that is. Obviously, it was a risk to see how well he could drive an IndyCar, which he's proved he can do that pretty well. So
Yeah. We're gonna have to have an episode on this, but I want to say this. I'm putting Will Power in Penske's IMSA program. Will Power's never run, at least to my knowledge, in sports cars.
yeah, I'm not sure.
I would be curious to know
Yeah.
what Will's, that would be the first one of the first that would be a question I would ask Will Power if given an opportunity, is what when you step out of the cockpit of an IndyCar at some point in the future, right? What do you see your future being? Is it sports cars, or is it I'm gonna go home and play with my kids and collect Amazon boxes off my front porch? Which he, remember that tweet that he sent the one day about all the Amazon boxes.
The other thing I wanted to mention about Renus was, several weeks ago, our Twitter handle put out a post that said, if you're not looking at Ganassi, Penske, or Andretti drivers, Renus is the next person in line for Ed Carpenter Racing. So that says something too, that they've been performing not just this weekend, but they've been performing the previous 3 weekends as well. And they've not gotten the headlines because they've not been in that, upper mix, but they've been performing pretty well.
They reminded everybody this week that they were there.
They did, which was great to see. And that's going to carry. So what's the next race on the schedule?
Indy GP, where he won last year.
I know.
Yep.
So this great momentum coming in, you dominated for the first 57 laps, and then you got slowed up in the pits possibly, and you lost a few positions. So at the end of the day, they're going to be someone to watch next weekend.
Yep.
And the weekend, 2 weekends after, for the 500, that team, being Ed Carpenter Racing, is always really, really fast. So look out.
Yep. Connor Daly, 19th, largely a non-factor this weekend. I think he couldn't get to grips with the car.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to slow down the momentum because
it's puzzling though. He's got a full-time ride. This is his year to shine.
Couple
so
of
far,
years,
it hasn't
right?
happened.
It sounds like it's multi-year.
Is it? I don't know if it's multi-year, but
that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, I guess
fourth place. Patient Will Power. New and improved patient Will Power.
That's never put together. Never.
Patient Power drove from 19th to 4th, largely on merit. There's some strategy there, largely on merit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He drove through the field.
One yellow, right, which changed some strategy for some people, but it was only one yellow. So it wasn't like a series of yellows or some offs or high attrition or anything of the sort. Will Power drove from 19th to 4th on merit. Patient Will Power, who we've never seen in this series.
No, they keep talking about him getting right in his headspace, right, to have a good season and have a championship type season. And this is another good finish by him. He's not finished lower than 4th in any event this year, which is normally it's win or
Yep.
Oh yeah.
It's Herta, right? It's win or finish somewhere way, way down, being non.
Yeah. So great performance after the 19th qualification.
Yep.
He beat out all of his teammates. He
started
drove
way ahead
a
of him.
Dixon-esque race.
He did. Yep.
I don't know.
They all
just wanted to say
finished
that.
well ahead of him. I know you did. Newgarden started. Well, let's start with Scotty McLaughlin, right? Scotty McLaughlin started 4th, finished 6th. He took a couple of shoulder bumps today too, from some folks who were driving him hard. Hertamania 2.0 was driving him hard and did some things there too, but it just wasn't his day, right? And it wasn't on lack of pace, but I just think there was
and I don't think he did anything wrong. It was just the tires fell off. Maybe it was tire management for him a little bit, and he got past a few spots. But overall, for Scott, that's a solid day. You'd like to stay where you're at or go forward, as I always say in every show, but you can't make that happen week in and week out. And then when you were getting past and people were bumping you, you didn't throw the car in the dirt.
Nope.
You didn't throw it in the grass or in the fence. You kept it on the track and you came away with a solid finish.
Driver.
Yes, he is.
He's a smart driver.
Yeah.
Joseph Newgarden finished 14th. This was just, he got bit by strategy.
Yeah.
Right. He was on that 3-stop strategy, had just made his stop when Callum Ilott, right, Hunko's car, had his spin and brought out the yellow. And that's where it was, game over for Newgarden.
And Newgarden was solid. He was solid. Solid ride. He was quick. It was interesting, though, on the pit stop, the second pit stop of the guys that were doing 3 stops before the accident. Herta got him. That Team Andretti, they leapfrogged him. And then Newgarden got held up a little bit after the restart, and Herta took off, and then Newgarden sort of stayed where he was from there while Herta drove up through the field. And I know we're going to get there, but just wasn't his day for the guy that's won a lot of races at this track, 3, I believe. Really good finishes. He was last in the Penske squad.
Yeah. Andretti Autosports, 7th place, Romain Grosjean. A lot of controversy around this guy today. He has a lot of fanfare and was shown to be the most popular driver in the IndyCar fan survey. Do I have that right? You told me that, right? Yeah. So, not just, but most popular guy, according to the IndyCar fan survey, not the most popular guy in the paddock, according to Graham Rahal.
Yeah, apparently.
Tim, you saw the incident where Roman and Graham got together a couple of times.
Yeah,
Can I get your thoughts on that? Was it intentional?
I would say definitely no on the first one and potentially on the second one, but I thought I saw Graham turning in and Grosjean still trying to keep the car under control after the first hit. So if it was intentional, he probably would have done it again when he actually passed him. So I don't know. I think you could go either way there, but to talk at your thoughts, I guess I'll throw it back to you because I have some other thoughts on Andretti Autosport as a whole.
In full send in the first one, ill-advised, right? I think it couldn't be helped. That second bump, I think that was probably on the gas, car a little loose, probably the same thing for Graham, right? And so they kind of got a little snug there.
Yeah.
And so the second one, Graham, again, in the Peacock post race, that really wasn't the post race. Graham said, well, I could see his head. He was turning and he was looking into where Graham,
Oh,
I don't know that, he's looking in so he could drive into the side of you, right? That's the most absurd thing I think I've ever heard of in my entire life, right? Again, I'm a soda pop salesman, not a professional race car driver, but it just sounds absurd to me. Okay. It just sounds absurd to me.
Yeah, I don't think he was like, I'm just going to ram this guy and get by him.
Ill-advised on the first move. The second move, I think just
I like the
racing.
dive bomb because it wasn't that bad of a contact, but he drove it in there hard and he smashed the brakes.
How many dive bomb moments did we see from Herta? And
Oh,
nobody's
yeah.
complaining about that. Nobody's saying, "Oh, we gotta have a drivers meeting to talk about Herta."
There was a little bit of contact, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And one that took himself out.
I know. That's
right.
That's right. You're absolutely right. That was during commercial, but I saw it on the replay. Yeah.
7th place, Grosjean. 9th place, Rossi. I'm gonna applaud this 9th place finish from Alexander. I know you hate moral victories. He had a big crash in qualifying, like we mentioned. Got that car back together, started from 5th. He was on the 2-stop strategy from the beginning. He had a 10-second stop. Unfortunately, on trend for that big crew.
Yeah.
Did that move him potentially, to 9th place? Probably. This is a game of inches. And if you're 2 or 3 seconds slower in the pits than your nearest competitor, forget it.
So are you giving him another moral victory?
I am. I have no idea why I'm so willing to do this.
Because you did that last race.
But I am. I know.
And where did he finish in Long Beach? Do you remember?
I don't know. I don't care.
It was 8th.
I don't know.
It was one place up than where he's at today.
Okay.
He started.
I think things are coming around. I think that crew's got to get their act together, but I think things are coming around.
Good point.
Just in time for him to go off to Arrow McLaren.
All right.
10th place, Herta. Eventful race here too, right? Seemed to have a fast car, but really couldn't get to the front. It felt like his car was as fast as, Award or Pillow or VK. He just couldn't get there for some reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was holding him back. He did have a moment with McLaughlin where he was full send and he spun himself, right? He was able to get away with it. He didn't stall the car. He didn't wreck anything, but that effectively finished his day right there.
Well, he was there. He was there until he had a spin. He was there. He was doing his thing.
Yep.
He was driving through the field, a little more aggressively than Will Power was. They had a great strategy until the yellow came out, and then they had to drive through the field. And he was the only one out of the 3 stoppers at the time that was driving through the field. And I was like, whoa, but again, it comes down to being patient, working your way through and not making mistakes. And he's made 2 the last 2 races.
Yeah.
So that's
started 10th, finished 10th.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And so I want to talk about Andretti Autosport as a whole, just for a brief second, because I think this was their weekend to shine based on, how good their cars were.
Mm-hmm.
And with a 7th, 9th, and 10th place finish, they weren't able to do it, unfortunately.
They do have 4 cars. 7th.
Oh, well, there is one more and 17th. I was looking at the 3 contenders,
7, 9,
I guess.
10,
I don't know.
17. But anyway, don't get me started on that because
so
I can't wait to get to
9th, 10th, and 7th. Whatever. All right. So what do you want to say? What do you want to say about that?
They tested really good at Barber, right? Expectations were very, very high. They just didn't put them on it on the field, right? On the track.
Yeah, and they kind of got caught. A lot of their drivers got caught out with the red flag and qualifying and didn't advance to the Fast 6. So that hurt them a little bit. But I was thinking they were going to go through and make up a bunch of positions, which the only person that really did that at one time was Herta, and then it sort of moved on from there. So
it's the only guy that can do anything with those Andretti cars, it feels like.
All right. Well, I can't wait for our next guy.
Yeah. Because it's Graham Rahal, 8th place. Not a bad finish. I can't take issue with the finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Graham feels wronged and he feels like he needs to defend the drivers of the series by calling out Grosjean. Did Grosjean drive into him? I don't think so. We just covered that.
Mm-hmm.
Graham suggested that it's not a fair assessment by the stewards because he's been penalized, he being Graham. Graham has been penalized for a lot less. Those are his words, certainly not mine. One needs only to look at Graham Rahal's Twitter feed during an Ohio State football game to see that unfair officiating is front and center in the mind of Graham Rahal. Okay. Just drive. If you or the other drivers have an issue with Roman Grosjean, beat him on the track. Just drive. If he's dangerous, because you can see Graham running his mouth on the side, right? He's going to kill somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let the series handle it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go out and drive. You're certainly going to make your opinion known because you put a mic in front of Graham and you're going to get all kinds of word salad just come running out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just drive.
He was your guy.
He was my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Has been for a long time, that team.
Mm-hmm.
Race him hard and beat him, Graham. Okay. What I will say is this. Okay. I have tried to reach out to Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, as you know, to get anyone or all three of those drivers on this podcast.
Yep.
We've had a few guests here. We've treated everybody very, very respectfully. We had a great conversation with Hinch and with
very well organized.
Yep, Bob Varsha and with Max Pappas, and we make everybody feel very comfortable when they come in here. I've tried to reach out to them. My favorite part of trying to reach out to Graham or Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan is their contact section has no phone number and it has no email address. So go figure. Tried to reach out to their PR person on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
No response. Yep. So I'm being very direct and very pointed with Graham here on this podcast, even more so on Twitter. Okay. Come on this show. Talk to us about where you're at, what you're doing, why you feel the way you feel. You know, you don't have to name names, but I can't help but feel like it's the new political shell game. All the drivers in the series are saying it. Really?
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet.
I didn't get that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
that's just what I'm saying.
I'd
be happy.
Even
to have
Siri's trying to pick up on what you're saying.
Yeah, she is. I know. She heard me. Thought I was calling her name.
She agrees. I don't know.
So 18th. So that's Graham. 18th place, Jack Harvey. I don't know what happened here. We didn't see anything from Jack on the broadcast on Peacock or anything there. Unfortunately, he was better in practice, which I tell you all the time is nothing. I felt like he was going to be better in qualifying. It just didn't work out.
He was one of the three stoppers that came in early with the rest of the folks. And then, we had the yellow and he kind of got shuffled back and wasn't able to drive through the field.
Yeah. And there's my typo. Christian Lundgaard finished 15th, started 14th. Jack finished 18th.
Lundgaard.
Yep.
And he was sort of in the mix there for a while. And he was, saw some people battling him. So it was good to see him, on camera a little bit there and working that vehicle around the track there.
Graham, I will say this, Graham is putting up numbers, especially against his teammates.
Yep.
Okay. I'll say that. I can do with a whole lot less of the whole moral high ground.
Yeah.
Right. Take it somewhere else.
I hear you.
I'm not buying it. I'm all stacked up with crazy here. Shank, this team missed out this weekend. I think just in general, I mean, like we talked about, Castro Neves had a moment with Jimmy Johnson, but otherwise nothing to write home about. Simon Pagenaud, right? No feature on the broadcast. Didn't really see his name a lot. Finished 11th, started 24th, 0 airtime. Castro Neves finishes 21st, had the issue with Jimmy Johnson that we already talked about.
Yeah, no, you're right. They talked to Castro Neves after the qualifying session, and he just missed out to advance to the top 12, if you want to call it that. And he was disappointed. He said he had the car under him to make it happen and just wasn't able to get it there. So
Yep.
I'd like to see more out of that team.
So would I.
Pageant, that's not a bad result. That's
not a bad result.
You can't start 24th though. We talk about that with Ray Hall team.
Every season.
Yeah. So
every session.
You just can't do that. And Castro Neves started way back too. So 16th. So he started a little bit further back. But yeah, again, it's a small budget team, right? It's they won the Indy last year.
They have Andretti Engineering.
I know, but are they? Yeah. I don't know. I would say they're smaller budget. They're not
small of resources,
as big.
though. Resource being like engineering resources. There are no shortage of resources there. And between those two, right? 5 Indy 500.
Yeah. That tells you got to have the equipment underneath you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that they're coming to grips with it, right? Because they both, right? Elio was in a part-time season last year. Pagenaud was at Penske last year. So it's learning a lot of new things in that team coming together from where those two came from. And they'll get it sorted out. I think that Pagenaud will definitely get it sorted out there with Shank. I don't know how much time Elio has left. Again, and we're retiring a lot of people on this show, I feel like. but
we are, but these are guys that have been around the series for a long time.
Elio's our age, Tim.
I know he is.
He's old enough to be Pelo's dad.
I know. So yeah, it's just they've been around forever, right? So at some point they've got to move on. And you see all the young, if you look at the top 3 finishers, they're all in their 20s, early 20s.
Yes.
And then you get into
they're all in their 20s, yes.
Yeah, then you get into the older class, we'll call it. You got Will Power and Scott Dixon, but then you go back to Scott, and then you get to Scott McLaughlin, who's younger, Roman Grosjean, who's younger, and then you get to Ray Hall. So
Roman's really the graybeard there, right? Because he's probably 31 or whatever.
Scott's got to be around there too, right?
Yeah, probably.
McLaughlin.
Coin 13th for Sato from 17th, 20th for Malukas from 18th. It's kind of an unfortunate weekend there. Foyt was a story to watch for us going into this weekend, and I called it a story to watch for us because Bourdais had a 5th place finish at Barber last year. So I wondered if Kyle Kirkwood was going to be able to really wheel it around Barber and do something with it. No such luck, man. 22nd for Kirkwood, 23rd for Kellett, 26th for Calderon.
They were the first car to go a lap down. Kirkwood was. They had a bad pit stop.
Just couldn't get anything going there.
And at that point,
he had a tire problem. They couldn't get that.
And then once you do that, you're done. And he's the leader on that team, in my opinion, because he came from a lap down to pass both of his teammates to finish above them. So that was it. Once you do that, you're done.
Juncos with Callum Ilott finishes 25th. They officially got more airtime than Foyt, Coyne, Schenk, Jack Harvey, and Christian Lundgaard. And I'm okay with it because I'm rooting for Juncos now.
What a great weekend for them. I know they didn't finish where they wanted to. Nope. Callum Ilott got off track. Just a mistake, right? And he caused the yellow and then wasn't able to drive through the field, which is difficult. And that was, one of the storylines that NBC had all weekend, or Peacock, and the announcers were talking about. It's tough to pass at Barber. It's a flowy, windy track, and once you're in the groove and moving, it's hard to get grip behind the other car and keep all 4 wheels and obviously getting the traction off the corner. So we'll see what happens next week. 2 weekends from now when they're in Indianapolis.
So we have our stories to watch, the ones that we laid out from the preview show. Penske continue this domination. No, they were beat today, and they were beat well by, the top 3 drivers.
I think one of the big
Chevy victory though.
It was still Chevy, and Chevy was dominating, like I said earlier in the show, for a while there. And then you've got Alex who snuck in there, but
and that's another story for us to watch that we wrote down, right? Chip Ganassi Racing lurking at each of the first 3 events and been able to take the top step. They're still lurking.
Yes.
With Pelot's 2nd place finish.
Lurking enough to be the championship leader.
Yeah, exactly. Andretti, are they on the right path? Tim, are they on the right path?
No, not yet.
Okay. I'm going to
They're-
skip over.
They're getting there. Like,
Yep.
but so I guess that's on the right path. If I say they're getting there, you got to get rid of the
pit stop thing is
mistakes.
bad. Yeah.
Pit stop on them is number one thing.
Yep.
And then you need to get rid of some driver errors. And I'm referring to one driver on the team right now. And even with the practice incident, you got to try to not have that happen. But that, it is that stuff's going to happen. It's just more difficult when it happens when you're already struggling as an organization to get the most out of the car, which they got a lot out of it at Long Beach. They were pretty, they were there. So I'm rethinking my thoughts here because they were there until the qualifying red flag. I think they would have stacked a lot of the front. So I changed my mind. Yes, they're on their way.
Talk yourself into it. Love it.
I talked myself into it. And based on the results were not where they needed to be, but yeah, they're on the road back.
Yep.
Changed it completely.
Yeah. Jimmy Johnson in that broken hand. I don't think that broken hand had anything to do with his finish today. If you want to know what that means, listen to any of the previous few shows. The magenta notes, Aaron McLaren, can they show up strong? Look at you, Timmy.
That is what I wrote down last week. Can they show up strong? Yeah. Can they win? Oh, they did. Wow. That was the story to watch, and they came through.
Good job.
So
good job on that.
Was on the pole
Big
last
time.
year, right?
Yep.
He was second this year, so they came out strong, and then they figured out the grip, which there's new tires, right? They talked about that. There were new tires this year, but I think some of it goes back to Chevrolet as well.
Yeah,
and the folks at General Motors.
And what about Coyne and Foyt? Unfortunately, Coyne, being the little team that could, still can't. I'm hopeful that they'll get that sorted out. I do like it when the Coyne team, just like Juncos, when Juncos is good, right? I mean, I like to see these little teams shake it up with the big teams like that. Foyt, they did not post anything at Barbertall.
What about the other magenta point?
Can we avoid the first lap crash? And we did.
We totally did.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a good day. It was really exciting racing.
Yeah.
The passes through the field were really good. And, the pit stop strategy played out for, passing and things of that sort, which is always fascinating to see. We had that happen in Long Beach as well, where pit stops and your out lap, your in lap and then your out lap and what your crew does really has a major impact. Always has in the series, and it's just shined in the last two races.
Yep. Again, a little more compressed schedule than normal time to put this thing together. I think we have great stuff though. I'm zeroed in on this Graham Rahal situation. I'm zeroed in on, Andretti getting on the right path. I am zeroed in on Chevy taking it to Honda this year. I mean, they really are strong. We'll see going into the month of May, right? Today is May 1st. So now we do have, the Indy GP, which I'll be at. I'm going to cover live. I'll be at that on the 14th.
Cover live?
I'll be there. Well, I'll live tweet from there. I'll send some things on the Instagram
very nice.
From there.
You are going to be there. That's really sweet.
And then the Indy 500, which we'll all be there, right?
Yes, we will.
Bill and
There'll be a lot of us there,
right? Your whole family,
the whole Turn 4 crew will be there.
Turn 4 production team will be there.
Yeah,
so
everybody.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But in any case, thank you.
But we should watch your Twitter handle this week, right?
No, stay off of there because I don't want to end the show with my inability to censor myself.
All right.
Apologize to those who are looking for anything from IMSA or F1 or NASCAR news, but again, more compressed schedule today. We're up against some other deadlines. I don't think
IMSA's over yet.
I know, probably not.
No.
In our personal lives, some deadlines that are taking place there.
Yep.
Again, shout out to the social media staff doing a great job this last week, really helping to build the awareness of the show. With that said, continue to engage with us on social media. If you want to take a look at our Twitter handles, they're all in the in the show notes, just not putting mine in the show notes right now. But so Twitter, Instagram, you could watch us on YouTube if you want. No bike for me today, but bike in
Yeah,
the background.
threw my dirty bike back on
Good
the
job
wall.
for doing that. Mine's still in my car. So
Well, I got to use Bike Riser every time I can.
yeah, for sure. Yep. Our good friends at Bike Risers. So that's all I got, Timmy.
That's all I got too. It's been a great weekend, great events today, and look forward to the next show.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
All right.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch up with you in a couple weeks.